My mother-in-law keeps inviting my husband's ex-girlfriend to every family dinner because she's the daughter she never had. So I gave her an ultimatum. When I married Nathan 3 years ago, I knew his ex, Juliana, dated him through college. What I didn't know was that his mother, Linda, had basically adopted Juliana as her own daughter during those 4 years. Juliana and Nathan broke up 5 years before we met, but Linda never let go. She kept Juliana's photos on the mantle next to family pictures. Still had her listed as emergency contact at her doctor's office. Called her every Sunday night without fail. Nathan said it was harmless. His mom was just bad at letting people go. The first time I met Linda, she spent the entire lunch comparing me to Juliana. Juliana was taller. Juliana knew how to make Linda's famous pot roast. Juliana understood Linda's humor better. I smiled through it, figured she needed time to adjust. But 3 months into dating Nathan, we showed up for Sunday dinner, and Juliana was sitting at the table. Linda hadn't mentioned she'd be there. Juliana hugged Nathan for a full minute while I stood there holding the salad I'd brought. Linda said she thought it would be nice for everyone to catch up. Juliana spent the whole meal talking about her memories with Nathan, inside jokes, the trips they took together. Linda glowed like she was watching her favorite movie. This became the pattern. Every holiday, every birthday, every random Sunday, Juliana would mysteriously appear. She'd help Linda cook while I was told to relax in the living room. She'd sit in what Linda called her spot at the table. She knew where everything was in the house because she still had a key. Nathan would get uncomfortable but never said anything substantial to his mother. Just weak protests that Linda would wave away. After we got engaged, I thought it would stop. Instead, Linda threw us an engagement party and made Juliana the unofficial co-host. Juliana gave a speech about how she was so happy Nathan found someone, though nobody would ever know him like she did. Linda actually filmed it. At our wedding, Linda tried to seat Juliana at the family table. I had to threaten to leave my own reception before Nathan finally stepped in. Juliana still came as Linda's +1, wore a red dress that Linda helped her pick, and cried through our vows loud enough that you can hear it on the video. Last month was Thanksgiving. I cooked for 2 days, made everything from scratch. When we arrived at Linda's, Juliana was already there wearing an apron that said Chef Juliana, that Linda had custom made years ago. Linda announced Juliana had made her famous stuffing, and we'd be using that instead of mine. She literally took my dish and put it in the garage refrigerator for leftovers. I went to the bathroom and cried. Nathan followed me, said I was overreacting, that it was just stuffing. That's when I decided I was done being polite. At dinner, Linda started her usual routine of Juliana stories. How Juliana was so successful at her marketing job. How Juliana just bought a house nearby. How Juliana was thinking about freezing her eggs since she hadn't found the right man yet, with a pointed look at Nathan. Then Juliana mentioned she was planning a trip to Italy, the same trip she and Nathan had planned but never took. She turned to Nathan and said maybe they could finally do it, as friends, of course. Linda immediately suggested they should all go together, a family trip. That's when I stood up. I thanked Linda for proving that she'd never see me as family, that after 3 years of marriage, I was still just the woman who was keeping her son from Juliana. I turned to Juliana and said it was pathetic that she was still hanging around her ex's family, pretending she belonged there, that maybe she should find her own boyfriend's mother to cling to. Juliana started crying. Linda started yelling about disrespect. I kept going. Told Linda that she could keep choosing Juliana, but she'd be choosing her over her own grandchildren. Because I was pregnant, 12 weeks, and Linda would never meet this baby if Juliana was more important than her son's wife. Nathan stood up then, finally, and said we were leaving. Linda screamed that we couldn't leave, it was Thanksgiving. Nathan said Thanksgiving was for family, and clearly I wasn't considered family in this house. We left. Linda called Nathan 43 times that night. Juliana texted him saying I'd ruined everything, that their friendship was special. Nathan blocked Juliana's number and told his mother she had one choice. Either Juliana goes or we do. No middle ground. Linda chose Juliana. That was 3 weeks ago. Nathan's dad called yesterday. He said that we should have a family meeting because Juliana is pregnant with Nathan's baby. I hang up the phone and my hand is shaking so bad I almost drop it. Nathan is standing in our kitchen with his back against the counter, and his face has gone completely white like someone drained all the blood out of him. He's shaking his head back and forth, not saying anything, just making this weird noise in his throat like he can't get words out. I need to know right now if he cheated on me. I need to know if my husband slept with his ex and got her pregnant while I'm carrying his baby. The words come out loud and harsh. Nathan starts talking fast, tripping over his words. He swears he hasn't touched Juliana in over 5 years, not since they broke up way before we even met. He says he blocked her number 3 weeks ago right after Thanksgiving, and he hasn't responded to any of her calls or texts since then. His hands are moving around while he talks, and he keeps running them through his hair. He's saying this has to be a lie, that Juliana must be lying or his mother put her up to this somehow, but I can see doubt in his eyes. He's wondering what Linda might have done, what she might have planned. The panic in his voice makes my stomach hurt worse than it already does. I tell him we need a timeline right now. Every single time he saw Juliana or talked to her in the past year, he pulls out his phone with shaking hands and opens it to show me. The screen shows Juliana's contact with a blocked symbol next to it. He scrolls through his deleted messages folder and there's nothing from her that he responded to. He opens his location history and starts pulling up dates, showing me where he was on different days. His work, our house, the gym, the grocery store, all the normal places he always goes. We sit down at the kitchen table and I grab a notebook and pen. My hands are shaking so bad the pen keeps slipping, but I start writing everything down. Nathan goes through his calendar app month by month for the whole past year. Every family dinner at Linda's house, I was there with him. Every holiday, every birthday party, I was right beside him the whole time. He pulls up his credit card statements on his laptop and we go through every charge. Restaurants where we ate together. Gas stations near our house. The hardware store. The dry cleaner. Nothing weird or out of place. We do this for 2 hours straight. According to everything he's showing me, he hasn't been alone with Juliana once in the 3 years we've been together. The only times he even saw her were those awful family dinners where she showed up and I was sitting right there watching them the whole time. It's past midnight when I finally stop writing and my hand is cramping. I look at Nathan and he looks exhausted and scared. I need to talk to someone who isn't him because I'm spiraling and I can't think straight. I call Violet even though it's so late. She answers on the second ring and I can hear the worry in her voice when she says my name. I tell her what happened and she says she's coming over right now. 20 minutes later, she's at our door with Griffin. They're both in sweatpants and hoodies like they just rolled out of bed. Violet hugs me and I almost start crying, but I hold it together. We all sit in the living room and I show them my notes. Griffin reads through everything while Violet sits next to me holding my hand. Griffin looks up from the notebook and says if Juliana really is pregnant, a paternity test will prove everything one way or another. He's talking in this calm, logical voice that makes it sound simple. He says we shouldn't make any decisions or have any fights until we know the actual facts. Violet nods and squeezes my hand. It makes sense when he says it like that, but it feels impossible to just sit here and wait when I'm this angry and this scared. My baby is growing inside me right now, and I don't know if my husband betrayed me. I don't know if Linda and Juliana are lying or telling the truth. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Nathan tries calling his father back, but it goes straight to voicemail. Then Linda starts calling. Nathan's phone lights up on the coffee table with her name and photo. It rings and rings. He ignores it. It stops and immediately starts again. This happens 17 times in a row. The sound is driving me crazy. Finally, Nathan picks up and puts it on speakerphone so we can all hear. Linda's voice comes through crying and talking fast. She's saying we need to come over to her house right now. She keeps saying Juliana is devastated and Nathan needs to step up and do the right thing. She's talking about family meetings and responsibility and how we can't just ignore this. I reach over and grab the phone out of Nathan's hand. I tell Linda that Nathan isn't going anywhere until Juliana takes a paternity test. If she's really pregnant, we need medical proof and we need to know if it's actually his baby. My voice sounds stronger than I feel. Linda starts screaming. She's calling me a cruel person who's trying to destroy Juliana's life. She says Juliana would never lie about something this important. She's going on and on about how I've always been jealous of Juliana, and now I'm using this as an excuse to be horrible to her. I cut her off and tell her that Juliana has been way too involved with our family for years. I say Linda has enabled every single boundary violation and made excuses for Juliana's weird behavior. So forgive me for not just taking everyone's word about this. Linda is yelling so loud the phone speaker is crackling. Nathan takes the phone back from me. His voice is steady now, not panicked anymore. He tells his mother he will not discuss this any further until Juliana provides medical proof that she's pregnant and agrees to a paternity test. Those are his conditions, and they're not negotiable. Linda starts saying he's abandoning his child and he's being manipulated by me. Nathan says those are his terms, and then he hangs up. The sudden silence in the room feels heavy. Violet and Griffin are staring at us. My heart is pounding, so hard I can feel it in my throat. Nathan puts his phone face down on the table and looks at me. I don't know what happens next, but I know nothing will ever be the same. That night, I'm in the bathroom throwing up for the 3rd time. The stress mixed with pregnancy hormones has my stomach completely wrecked. Nathan sits on the floor next to me with his back against the wall. He keeps saying he's sorry over and over. He swears he didn't do anything wrong, but his voice sounds desperate, like he knows I might not believe him. I wipe my mouth with a towel and lean back against the tub. My whole body is shaking. I look at him sitting there and I realize I genuinely don't know if I trust what he's telling me. 3 years of marriage and I can't tell if my husband is lying about getting another woman pregnant. That thought makes me want to throw up again. He reaches for my hand, but I pull it away. I need space to think, even though thinking makes everything worse. We stay in the bathroom until almost 3 in the morning. Neither of us can sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see Linda's face or imagine Juliana with Nathan or picture my baby growing up in a broken home. The next morning, I wait until Nathan goes to take a shower, and then I call my sister Coraline. She lives 2 states away, but we talk every week. She answers on the second ring, and I can barely get the words out before I start crying. I tell her everything about Juliana claiming to be pregnant, and Linda demanding a family meeting and how I don't know if Nathan cheated on me. Coraline doesn't even hesitate. She says she's booking a flight right now for this afternoon. She says I need family who's actually on my side, and she doesn't trust Nathan's version of events until she can verify everything herself. She tells me not to make any big decisions until she gets there. Hearing her voice makes me feel less alone, but also more scared because if my sharp sister doesn't automatically believe Nathan, then maybe my doubts are valid. That afternoon, I pick Coraline up from the airport. She hugs me tight in the arrivals area, and I almost lose it again. She's wearing jeans and a blazer like she came straight from work. On the drive home, she asks me detailed questions about the timeline and Nathan's behavior. She wants to know exact dates and specific interactions. I tell her everything I can remember while she takes notes on her phone. When we get to the house, Nathan is sitting at the kitchen table looking exhausted. Coraline walks right up to him and starts asking questions like she's deposing a witness. She's a paralegal and she knows how to spot lies and inconsistencies. She asks where he was on specific dates going back months. She wants to know about his work schedule and business trips and any time he was out of my sight. Nathan answers every question without getting defensive. He pulls out his phone and shows her his calendar. He offers to print his credit card statements. Coraline takes notes on everything. I sit at the table watching this interrogation happen in my own kitchen. Part of me feels bad for Nathan, but a bigger part of me is grateful that someone with legal training is helping me figure out the truth. Coraline asks about his relationship with Juliana and when he last saw her. Nathan explains it was always at his mother's house with me present. He shows Coraline the blocked number and the text messages he never responded to. She photographs everything with her phone. After an hour of questioning, she tells Nathan she needs all his phone records and credit card statements and work calendar for the past year. Nathan agrees immediately. He says he'll get everything together tonight. Coraline nods and tells him she'll cross-reference everything and verify his timeline. She says she'll know by tonight if there are any gaps that could indicate secret meetings. While Coraline takes over our dining room table with Nathan's records spread everywhere, I make an appointment with a lawyer. Violet recommended a family lawyer named Samuel Mercer, who helped her cousin through a divorce. I call his office and explain I need to see him as soon as possible. The receptionist hears the panic in my voice and squeezes me in for late afternoon. I need to know what my options are if Nathan really did father Juliana's baby. I need to understand my rights regarding my own pregnancy, and our house, and our money. The not knowing is killing me. Samuel's office is in a building downtown. The waiting room has leather chairs and paintings of sailboats. I fill out intake forms with shaking hands. When Samuel calls me back, he's younger than I expected, maybe 40, with kind eyes. I sit in his office and tell him everything. He listens without interrupting and takes notes. Then he starts explaining the reality of my situation in terms I can understand. He says if Nathan did father Juliana's baby, I can absolutely file for divorce. But Nathan would still have parental rights and obligations to both children. He walks me through custody arrangements and child support calculations. He explains how assets get divided in our state. He uses a whiteboard to show me different scenarios with percentages and timelines. Every word he says makes this nightmare feel more real and concrete. I'm not just dealing with emotional betrayal anymore. I'm looking at legal processes and financial splits and custody schedules. My hand goes to my stomach where my baby is growing, and I feel sick thinking about sharing custody and coordinating drop-offs and explaining to my child why mommy and daddy don't live together. I also ask Samuel about Linda's legal rights regarding grandchildren. He leans back in his chair and explains that grandparent rights are pretty limited in our state. But Linda could potentially seek visitation if Nathan and I divorce. She'd have to prove it's in the child's best interest and that she has an established relationship. The thought of Linda having court-ordered access to my baby makes my stomach turn. I imagine her poisoning my child against me the way she's tried to poison Nathan against our marriage. Samuel sees my face and says we can include provisions in any custody agreement that limit third-party contact. He says we're getting ahead of ourselves, though. First, we need to know if Juliana is actually pregnant and if Nathan is actually the father. He recommends we demand a paternity test before making any legal moves. I leave his office with a folder full of information and a bill for $300. My head is spinning with legal terms and worst-case scenarios. When I get home, Coraline is still at the dining room table surrounded by papers and her laptop. She's been working for hours cross-referencing everything Nathan gave her. Nathan is in the kitchen making dinner like everything is normal. The smell of cooking makes me nauseous again. Coraline looks up when I walk in. She says she needs another hour to finish. I sit on the couch and try to process everything Samuel told me. The house feels different now. Every room holds memories of the life Nathan and I built together, but now I'm calculating how we'd divide everything. Which furniture would I take? Whether I'd have to sell the house. How we'd split holidays with our daughter. By evening, Coraline calls us both into the dining room. She's organized everything into neat piles. She sits us down and starts presenting her findings like she's in a courtroom. Based on Nathan's documented evidence, there's no gap in his timeline that would allow for an affair with Juliana. His credit card statements show no unexplained charges. His work calendar matches his phone location data. His text messages and call logs show no suspicious patterns. She's been thorough and methodical. If Nathan was having an affair with Juliana, he would have had to be incredibly sophisticated about covering his tracks. Coraline looks at me and says, either Nathan is a liar who's thought of everything, or he's telling the truth, and Juliana is lying about the pregnancy or the paternity. Griffin speaks up from where he's been sitting quietly. He says there's a third option we haven't considered. Juliana could be pregnant by someone else and claiming it's Nathan's baby to force her way back into the family. Linda has made it clear she'd choose Juliana over her own son. Maybe Juliana sees a pregnancy as her ticket back into Linda's good graces and Nathan's life. The room goes quiet. That possibility hadn't occurred to me. It would explain why Juliana made this announcement now right after Linda chose her over Nathan. It would explain why Linda immediately called for a family meeting without asking for any proof. Coraline nods slowly. She says that's actually a smart theory. Juliana has been obsessed with Nathan for years. Linda has enabled that obsession. A fake pregnancy or a real pregnancy with someone else's baby would be the ultimate manipulation. Nathan looks like he might throw up. He says he can't believe Juliana would do something that cruel. But then he stops himself. He says actually yes, he can believe it after everything else. Nathan's phone rings and we all freeze. It's his dad calling. Nathan puts it on speaker. His dad's voice sounds different this time. Less certain, more confused. He says Linda is still insisting on this family meeting, but he's starting to have questions himself. He admits that Juliana only told Linda about the pregnancy yesterday morning. Linda immediately called him and demanded he call Nathan about a family meeting. She didn't ask Juliana for any proof or medical records. She just accepted it as truth and started making plans. Nathan's dad says he's been thinking about it all day and something feels off. He says Linda has been acting strange lately, more obsessed with Juliana than usual. He asks Nathan directly if there's any possibility this baby is his. Nathan says absolutely not. He hasn't been alone with Juliana in over 5 years. He hasn't responded to any of her messages or attempts at contact. His dad is quiet for a long moment. Then he says that's what he thought. He says he'll talk to Linda about getting proof before any family meeting happens. Nathan thanks him and hangs up. We all sit there looking at each other. The situation is shifting. Linda's story is starting to crack. But I still don't have answers. I still don't know if Juliana is really pregnant, or if she's lying, or if there's some other explanation I haven't thought of. All I know is that my 12-week-old baby is growing inside me while my marriage hangs in the balance, and my mother-in-law might be orchestrating the whole thing. I grab my phone and call Nathan's dad back before I can second-guess myself. He answers on the first ring and his voice sounds tired. I tell him we need Juliana to provide a dated ultrasound photo and medical records proving she's actually pregnant, plus her written agreement to a paternity test the moment the baby is born. The line goes quiet for what feels like forever. I can hear him breathing on the other end. Finally, he says that's reasonable, that he'll talk to Linda about making this happen. He sounds relieved that we're asking for proof instead of just accepting it or immediately filing for divorce. Nathan takes the phone and tells his dad we're not trying to be difficult, but we need facts before we destroy our lives over this. His dad agrees and promises to call back after talking to Linda. An hour passes and I'm pacing the kitchen while Coraline makes tea nobody's drinking. Nathan sits at the table with his head in his hands. Violet and Griffin are still here. Nobody wants to leave until we know what's happening. My phone rings and Linda's name flashes on the screen. I answer and put it on speaker. Linda starts yelling immediately about how we're demanding proof and calling Juliana a liar. Her voice is shaking with rage. She says Juliana is too upset to deal with our accusations, and that Nathan should be supporting her through this difficult time instead of protecting his jealous wife. I can hear her breathing hard like she's been crying or screaming. She keeps saying Juliana would never lie about something this serious, that we're being cruel and heartless. Something inside me snaps. I tell Linda that she's been trying to destroy my marriage since the day I met Nathan, that her obsession with Juliana is sick and wrong. My voice gets louder with each word. I say that if Juliana won't provide proof, then we know she's lying, and Linda is either helping her lie or too blind to see she's being used. I tell her that normal mothers don't keep their son's ex-girlfriend around for years after the breakup. Normal mothers don't invite exes to family dinners and holidays. Normal mothers don't have their son's ex as an emergency contact at the doctor's office 5 years after they broke up. I'm shaking, and my hands are gripping the phone so hard my knuckles turn white. Coraline puts her hand on my shoulder, but I keep going. I tell Linda that Juliana is pathetic for hanging around, and Linda is pathetic for encouraging it. Nathan stands up and takes the phone from me. For the first time since I've known him, he speaks to his mother with real force in his voice. He tells her that her relationship with Juliana has always been wrong and inappropriate, and he's done enabling it. He says we won't be attending any family events or taking any calls until Juliana provides medical proof and agrees to paternity testing. His voice doesn't shake at all. Linda starts crying and saying he can't do this to her, but Nathan talks right over her. He says she made her choice when she picked Juliana over her own son 3 weeks ago, and now she needs to live with the consequences. He hangs up while she's still talking. The house goes completely silent. Nobody moves or speaks for a long minute. Nathan drops the phone on the table and sits back down. Violet breaks the silence by saying that was the right thing to do. Griffin agrees and says Nathan should have set those boundaries years ago. Coraline squeezes my hand and tells me I did good standing up for myself. But I don't feel good. I feel sick and scared and angry all at the same time. 2 days pass and we don't hear anything from Linda. Not a single call or text. Nathan checks his phone constantly like he's waiting for her to reach out, but nothing comes. He's anxious about the silence. Keeps saying his mother has never gone this long without contacting him. But he also seems lighter somehow, like a weight has been lifted. He's not constantly checking his phone for her calls or managing her feelings or explaining her behavior. We spend the 2 days just being together, watching movies, talking about the baby, pretending everything is normal. Coraline stays with us and helps around the house. Violet checks in twice a day. Everyone is waiting to see what happens next. On the 3rd day, there's a knock on our door at 8 in the morning. Nathan answers it, and his dad is standing there looking completely exhausted. He didn't call first or text to say he was coming. He's wearing the same clothes from 2 days ago, and his eyes are red. He asks if he can come in and talk to us about what's really been going on with Linda and Juliana. Nathan steps aside and lets him in. We all sit in the living room, and I can feel my heart pounding in my chest. His dad sits forward with his hands clasped between his knees and stares at the floor for a minute before he starts talking. He tells us that Linda has been giving Juliana money for years, thousands of dollars that she hid from him. He only found out when he started digging through their bank accounts after the pregnancy announcement. He discovered mysterious withdrawals going back at least 3 years, sometimes $500 at a time, sometimes more. He confronted Linda about it yesterday, and she admitted she'd been supporting Juliana financially because Juliana was struggling with her marketing job, and Linda wanted to help. But the amounts don't match what someone would need for basic help. It's enough money that they could have paid off their mortgage by now. Nathan's dad pulls out his phone and shows us the bank statements. There are highlighted withdrawals every few weeks for the past 3 years. The amounts vary, but they add up to over $40,000. I feel like I might throw up. Nathan just stares at the screen with his mouth open. His dad keeps talking. He says that Linda has been telling Juliana everything about Nathan's life, about our marriage, about our problems. Every argument we had, every stress, every private moment got reported back to Juliana like Linda was some kind of spy. Linda positioned herself as Juliana's mother and confidant while actively working to break up Nathan's marriage to me. Then Nathan's dad says the worst part. He found text messages between Linda and Juliana from right before Thanksgiving. Linda told Juliana about my pregnancy before Nathan and I announced it at dinner. The texts show them discussing how my pregnancy would change everything, and Juliana needed to act fast. His dad hands Nathan the phone and I lean over to read the messages. Linda wrote that Nathan would be tied to me forever once the baby came, that Juliana was running out of time to win him back. Juliana responded asking what she should do. Linda wrote back telling her to make Nathan jealous, to remind him of what they had together, to show him that she was still available and still the better choice. I grab the phone and scroll through more messages. There are dozens of them going back months. Linda telling Juliana about fights Nathan and I had. Juliana asking if Nathan seemed happy with me. Linda saying no, that Nathan seemed stressed and trapped. Juliana saying maybe she should reach out to him. Linda encouraging her to do it. The messages get worse as I keep reading. Linda suggesting Juliana should get pregnant to force Nathan's hand. Juliana saying she didn't know if she could do that. Linda saying desperate times call for desperate measures. My hands start shaking so hard I almost drop the phone. The room spins around me and I have to close my eyes. Linda orchestrated this entire situation. She told Juliana I was pregnant, and suddenly Juliana announces she's pregnant too with Nathan's baby. The timing wasn't a coincidence. Linda created a crisis designed to destroy my marriage and push Nathan back to Juliana. I hand the phone to Nathan and run to the bathroom where I throw up everything in my stomach. I come back from the bathroom and Nathan's dad is still sitting there looking like he aged 10 years in the past hour. He pulls out a stack of papers from his jacket pocket and sets them on the coffee table between us. Nathan reaches for them, but his hands are shaking. So bad he can barely pick them up. I lean over to read with him, and the first message makes my stomach drop all over again. Linda wrote to Juliana 2 months ago saying she noticed Nathan seemed distant and unhappy, that maybe the marriage wasn't working out like everyone hoped. Juliana responded asking if Linda thought there was still a chance for them. Linda wrote back that she always believed Nathan made the wrong choice, that some people are just meant to be together no matter what. I flip through more pages and they get worse with everyone. Linda telling Juliana about a fight Nathan and I had over his work schedule. Juliana asking if that meant he was pulling away from me. Linda saying yes, that Nathan was probably realizing he settled for the wrong woman. There are messages where Linda gives Juliana details about our life that she had no business sharing. What time Nathan gets home from work, what gym he goes to, what restaurants we like. Juliana thanking her for keeping her updated, saying it helps her feel still connected to him. I find a message from 3 weeks before Thanksgiving where Linda tells Juliana that I seem stressed and tired all the time, that Nathan mentioned I was acting different. Juliana asks if Linda thinks something is wrong with our marriage. Linda responds that she hopes so, that it would give Nathan a chance to correct his mistake. My hands start cramping from gripping the papers so tight. Nathan is reading over my shoulder and I can hear his breathing getting faster and more shallow. His dad just sits there with his head down, not looking at either of us. I keep flipping and find the messages from right after Thanksgiving. Linda wrote to Juliana the day after our blow-up saying that I announced my pregnancy at dinner and stormed out. Juliana's response is just one word asking if Linda is sure. Linda confirms it and says this changes everything, that once the baby comes, Nathan will be trapped with me forever. Juliana writes back asking what she should do. Linda tells her she needs to act fast, that she needs to remind Nathan of what they had together, that she needs to show him there's still a chance for them to be happy. Juliana says she doesn't know how to do that. Linda suggests the Italy trip, bringing up old memories, making him jealous. Then Linda writes something that makes me want to throw up again. She tells Juliana that if she really wants Nathan back, she should consider getting pregnant too, that a baby would force Nathan to choose, would make him realize he still has feelings for her. Juliana responds saying she doesn't think she can do that it seems crazy. Linda writes back saying desperate times call for desperate measures, that sometimes you have to fight for what you want. The next message is from a week ago. Juliana tells Linda she's been thinking about the pregnancy idea, that maybe it would work. Linda encourages her, says that Nathan would step up and do the right thing if Juliana was carrying his child. Juliana asks how she would even make that happen. Linda suggests telling people she's already pregnant, that the announcement alone would create enough chaos to break up our marriage. Juliana seems hesitant, but Linda keeps pushing, saying this is Juliana's last chance before the baby arrives, and Nathan is tied to me permanently. The final message is from 2 days ago. Juliana tells Linda she's ready to do it, that she'll say she's pregnant with Nathan's baby. Linda responds with several heart emojis and says she'll help make sure everyone believes it. I drop the papers on the floor and stand up because I need to move or I'm going to start screaming. Nathan is still sitting there staring at the last page with his mouth hanging open. His dad finally looks up and his eyes are red like he's been crying. He tells us he confronted Linda last night after he found these messages. She broke down and admitted everything, but kept saying she just wants Juliana to be happy, that Juliana is like a daughter to her. Nathan's dad told her that her obsession with Juliana has destroyed their relationship with their son. He said he's considering separation if she doesn't get serious therapy. Nathan makes a sound like all the air just left his body. His dad keeps talking, saying he should have seen how sick Linda's attachment to Juliana had become, that he enabled it by not standing up to her, by letting her keep Juliana in their lives long after the breakup. He apologizes to both of us, says he failed as a father and a husband by not protecting Nathan from this manipulation. I sit back down because my legs won't hold me anymore. Nathan picks up the papers again and reads through them one more time like he's hoping they'll say something different. His dad pulls out his phone and shows us more messages, ones he didn't print. Linda telling Juliana that Nathan married the wrong woman. Juliana responding that she always felt like Nathan was the one who got away. Linda saying they were meant to be together, that she knew it from the first time Juliana came to Sunday dinner all those years ago. Juliana asking if Nathan ever talks about her. Linda saying yes, that he mentions her all the time, which I know is a complete lie because Nathan barely spoke about Juliana until she started showing up everywhere. I find another message where Linda tells Juliana about a work promotion Nathan got last year. Juliana congratulates him through Linda instead of directly, and Linda responds saying that Juliana understands Nathan better than I ever could. There's a whole thread about our wedding where Linda complains to Juliana about the planning, about how I didn't want Linda's input on anything. Juliana sympathizes and says I'm probably intimidated by Linda's close relationship with Nathan. Linda agrees and says she tried to be welcoming, but I shut her out from the beginning. I read these messages and I want to laugh, because the rewriting of history is so extreme. Linda made my life hell from day one, and now she's telling Juliana that I was the problem. Nathan finally speaks and his voice sounds destroyed. He asks his dad why he called us about Juliana's pregnancy if he had doubts. His dad admits that Linda was standing right there coaching him on what to say. He went along with it at first because he didn't want to believe his wife would do something this manipulative. But his conscience has been eating at him since he made the call. So he went through their bank accounts and her phone and found all of this. He came over today to tell us the truth before things went any further. Nathan stands up and walks to the window. He stares out at the street for a long time before turning back to face his dad. He says he wants nothing to do with his mother until she gets serious professional help. That Linda has been emotionally abusive to me for years, and this fake pregnancy scheme is unforgivable. His dad nods and says he understands, that he doesn't blame Nathan for cutting contact. Nathan tells him that Linda has been trying to destroy our marriage since before it started, that she's been working against us this entire time. His dad agrees and says the text messages prove it beyond any doubt. I pick up my phone and search for therapists in our area, because I can't handle this without professional help. I find one named Lucy Garrett who has good reviews and availability. I call her office and explain that I need an emergency appointment, that I'm dealing with family manipulation, and I'm pregnant, and I can't process this alone. The receptionist puts me on hold and comes back saying Lucy can fit me in tomorrow afternoon. I take the appointment and hang up. Nathan's dad gets ready to leave and tells us he's moving out of the house. He says he can't stay with Linda after seeing what she's done, that he needs space to figure out if their marriage can be saved. Nathan walks him to the door and they hug for a long time. After he leaves, Nathan comes back and sits next to me on the couch. He puts his head in his hands and I can see his shoulders shaking. I put my hand on his back, but I don't know what to say. We sit like that until it gets dark outside. The next morning, Nathan's phone rings while we're still in bed and he answers without checking who it is. His brother Mitch starts talking before Nathan can say hello, telling him he needs to hear what's been going on with Linda. Mitch says Linda called him 3 days ago asking him to talk sense into Nathan about Juliana's pregnancy, to convince him to do the right thing and support her. Mitch refused after he talked to their dad and heard our side of everything. He tells Nathan that he's been talking to other family members and several of them are starting to question Linda's version of events, especially after their dad confirmed there's no actual pregnancy and showed some of them the text messages. Nathan puts the phone on speaker so I can hear, and Mitch keeps going, saying their Aunt Karen and Uncle Tom are both questioning why Linda would lie about something this serious. Mitch sounds angry when he talks about how Linda tried to manipulate him into pressuring Nathan, like she's been doing to everyone for years, and he never saw it clearly until now. Nathan thanks him for calling and for believing us. And after they hang up, I feel this tiny bit of relief that at least one person in his family sees the truth. 2 hours later, I'm scrolling through social media while Nathan makes breakfast, and I see that Linda has posted something on her page. It's a vague message about how some children forget everything their parents sacrificed for them, how betrayal comes from the people you love most. She doesn't name us directly, but anyone who knows our situation will know exactly who she's talking about. I scroll through the comments and extended family members are already taking sides, some posting heart emojis and supportive messages, others asking what happened. Linda's friend posts something about ungrateful children who abandon their mothers, and Linda responds with a crying emoji. I feel my face getting hot as I read through more comments, watching Linda paint herself as the victim while making us look like terrible people. Nathan comes over and looks at my phone and his jaw gets tight when he sees what his mother is doing. I show him 3 more posts she made over the past hour, all with the same theme of betrayal and heartbreak, all carefully worded to make people feel sorry for her without actually explaining what happened. The comments keep coming. And I watch family members I barely know weighing in on our marriage and our choices based on Linda's manipulative half-truths. I call Samuel because I don't know what else to do, and I'm so angry I can barely think straight. He answers right away, and I tell him about Linda's social media campaign, how she's publicly dragging us without naming us directly. Samuel asks me to screenshot everything and send it to him, every post and every comment. He says not to respond to anything, not to engage with Linda or anyone defending her. Just document it all. I ask him if we can make her stop, and he says not really. She has the right to post on her own page, but if this escalates, we may need a restraining order. He explains that Linda's social media posts will actually help us prove a pattern of harassment if we need legal protection later. Samuel tells me to keep screenshots of everything with dates and times, and to note anyone who's participating in the harassment. I spend the next hour going through Linda's page and her friends' pages, taking screenshots of every post and comment related to us. There are 43 different posts or comments total, and I save them all in a folder on my phone. Nathan watches me do this, and I can see he's struggling with the idea that his mother is this vindictive, that she'd try to turn his whole family against us publicly. That afternoon, Nathan's phone buzzes with an email notification, and when he checks it, his face goes completely white. He shows me the screen, and it's from Juliana, a long email with the subject line that just says, "I'm sorry." Nathan opens it, and we read it together on the couch. Juliana writes that she's not pregnant, that she never was, and she's sorry for letting things go this far. She says Linda encouraged her to tell people she was pregnant, because it would force Nathan to face his true feelings, and she went along with it because she was desperate. The email goes on for paragraphs, and I feel sick reading Juliana's words about how she thought this would make Nathan realize he still loved her. She writes about how Linda made her believe that Nathan was unhappy in our marriage, that he talked about Juliana all the time, that he was just too loyal to leave me on his own. Juliana admits that Linda came up with the pregnancy idea after I announced I was pregnant at Thanksgiving, saying it would create a situation where Nathan would have to choose. I read the whole thing twice because I can't believe someone would actually admit to something this calculated and cruel. The email shifts from confession to justification about halfway through. Juliana writes that she never got over Nathan even though they broke up years ago, that seeing him with me made her realize what she lost. She says Linda made her believe he still loved her too, that all the family dinners and holidays where Linda were included, her were proof that she still belonged in Nathan's life. Juliana blames Linda for most of it, saying Linda fed her hope and encouragement for years, making her think reconciliation was possible. But then Juliana admits she knew what she was doing was wrong, that she knew she was crossing lines and hurting people. She writes that she let herself believe Linda's version of reality because it was what she wanted to hear, and she's sorry for the pain she caused. The email ends with Juliana saying she's moving away and won't contact Nathan again, that she hopes someday he can forgive her. I finish reading and look at Nathan, who's just staring at the screen like he can't process what he's seeing. He says he needs to show this to his family, that they need to see proof of what Linda and Juliana did. Nathan forwards Juliana's email to his entire family with a message at the top. He writes that this is proof of his mother's manipulation and Juliana's willing participation in a scheme to destroy his marriage. He says he's blocking both of them permanently, and anyone who defends their behavior will be blocked too. I watch him type the message and hit send, and within minutes his phone starts buzzing with responses. He opens the first few, and some people are apologizing, saying they should have questioned Linda's story instead of taking her word. His cousin writes that she's horrified and never would have believed Linda capable of something like this. But other messages defend Linda, saying she just wanted Nathan to be happy, that she couldn't have known Juliana would take things this far. Nathan's aunt writes that Linda has been through so much, and maybe we should have more compassion. I see Nathan's expression harden as he reads these responses, and he starts blocking people without even responding to their messages. He blocks his aunt who defended Linda, 2 cousins who made excuses, and a bunch of extended family members who liked Linda's social media posts. By the end of the day, he's blocked 15 people, including 2 aunts and a cousin he used to be close with. The responses keep coming over the next few days, and I can see the family splitting into clear sides. Some people reach out privately to apologize and offer support, saying they're cutting contact with Linda until she takes responsibility. Others double down on defending her, arguing that she's just a mother who loves her son and made a mistake. Nathan stops reading the messages after the first day and just blocks anyone who doesn't explicitly support us. I watch him do this without emotion, like he's finally accepted that some relationships can't be saved. His phone gets quieter as the blocks pile up, and eventually only a handful of family members are left who can still reach him. Mitch texts to say he's proud of Nathan for standing up to Linda, and their dad calls to say he supports our decision to cut contact with anyone who enables her behavior. But the silence from everyone else is loud, and I can tell Nathan is grieving the family he thought he had. At my 16-week checkup, the obstetrician takes my blood pressure 3 times because she doesn't like the numbers she's seeing. She asks me about stress in my life, and I almost laugh because where would I even start? I tell her about the family drama and the fake pregnancy and the social media harassment, and she listens with concern on her face. She takes my blood pressure again, and it's even higher than before, and she says this is dangerous for me and the baby. The obstetrician puts me on modified bed rest immediately, saying I need to stay off my feet as much as possible and avoid any stressful situations. She explains that high blood pressure during pregnancy can lead to serious complications, that I need to prioritize my health and my baby over family drama. I start crying in the exam room because I feel like I'm failing at everything, like the stress Linda caused is now threatening my baby. The obstetrician is kind but firm, telling me that bed rest isn't optional and Nathan needs to take over all household responsibilities. She schedules me for a follow-up in 2 weeks and says if my blood pressure doesn't improve, she'll have to consider more serious interventions. Nathan takes a week off work as soon as we get home from the appointment. He calls his boss and explains the situation, and they give him the time without any issues. I watch him transform into someone I haven't seen before, someone who takes charge and handles everything without being asked. He cooks all our meals, does the laundry, cleans the house, and won't let me do anything more strenuous than sitting on the couch. When his phone rings with calls from family members, he rejects them immediately and blocks the numbers if they keep trying. He brings me water and snacks throughout the day, helps me to the bathroom when I need it, and sits with me while I rest. At night, he rubs my feet and tells me stories about the future, about our daughter and the life we're going to build away from his mother's chaos. I see him fiercely protecting me from any stressful calls or messages, screening everything before I see it, and I realize this is who he can be when he's not caught between me and Linda. He's choosing me and our baby completely, and for the first time since we got married, I feel like I'm actually his priority. Violet comes over every day to keep me company during bed rest. She brings magazines and snacks, sits with me on the couch, and helps me process everything that's happened. We talk about Linda's manipulation, Juliana's confession, the family members who chose sides, and how close I came to losing my marriage over someone else's obsession. Violet points out that while this situation is horrible, it's also revealed the truth about Linda that I can never unsee or excuse away. She says I spent 3 years trying to win Linda's approval and acceptance, but Linda never intended to give me either because she was always working toward getting Nathan back with Juliana. Violet helps me see that Linda's behavior was never about me being good enough or trying hard enough. It was about Linda's sick attachment to a relationship that ended years ago. We talk about boundaries and what my life will look like going forward without Linda in it, and Violet reminds me that I'm building my own family now with people who actually love and respect me. She stays for hours each day, and I'm grateful for her steady presence, for someone who sees the situation clearly and doesn't try to make excuses for anyone's behavior. A week into my bed rest, Nathan's dad calls and tells us he filed for legal separation from Linda that morning. He moved into a small apartment across town and had the papers served to her at the house. His voice sounds tired but steady when he explains that he's done enabling her behavior, that watching her try to destroy Nathan's marriage was the final thing he could tolerate. He says he wants to rebuild his relationship with Nathan, but he understands if we need time and space to process everything that's happened. Nathan thanks him, and they talk for a few more minutes about logistics and next steps. After hanging up, Nathan sits quiet for a long time before saying his dad should have done this years ago, but he's glad it's finally happening. 2 hours later, Linda calls Nathan's phone and she's sobbing so hard I can barely understand her through the speaker. She's begging Nathan to call his father and tell him this is all a big misunderstanding, that she didn't mean for things to go this far with Juliana. Nathan stays remarkably calm and tells her that she destroyed her own marriage by choosing Juliana over her own family repeatedly for years. He says she almost destroyed his marriage too, and he hopes she gets professional help, but he's done being her emotional support while she refuses to take responsibility. Linda starts screaming that I turned him against her, that he never would have abandoned his mother before he met me. Nathan hangs up without responding and blocks her number on his phone. The next morning, we get a certified letter from Juliana's lawyer, threatening to sue us for defamation over the email Nathan sent to the family exposing the fake pregnancy. The letter claims we damaged Juliana's reputation and caused her emotional distress by sharing private information. I immediately call Samuel and read him the letter over the phone. He tells me not to worry, that he'll handle it, and we should forward him the email thread. Samuel sends a response letter that same day, detailing Juliana's own written admission of the fake pregnancy in her email to Nathan. His letter offers to countersue Juliana for emotional distress, harassment, and the medical costs associated with my pregnancy complications caused by her manipulation. He includes documentation of my high blood pressure diagnosis and bed rest orders as evidence of harm. 3 days later, Samuel calls to tell us Juliana's lawyer dropped the defamation threat after seeing our evidence. He says the lawyer probably advised Juliana that she had no case and would likely lose badly if we countersued. A week after that, Mitch texts Nathan saying he heard through family members that Juliana moved to another state. Apparently, the fallout from everything was too much for her to handle, and Linda's support wasn't worth staying around for the public shame. Mitch says some family members feel bad for Juliana, but most people think she brought it on herself by going along with Linda's manipulation. Nathan forwards me the text, and we both feel relieved that Juliana is physically gone from our lives now. My next therapy session with Lucy focuses on working through my anger at Nathan for years of passive enabling. I tell Lucy that I understand his mother trained him to doubt himself and prioritize her feelings, but I'm still mad that he let me suffer through so much before finally standing up. Lucy helps me see that my anger is valid, but also that Nathan is actively changing his behavior now when it matters most. She suggests Nathan join me for couples therapy sessions so we can work through this together with professional guidance. Nathan agrees immediately when I ask him that evening. In our first joint session, Lucy asks Nathan to articulate what his mother's manipulation did to him over the years. He struggles at first, but then explains how Linda trained him from childhood to doubt his own perceptions and feelings. He says she would tell him his memories were wrong, his emotions were overreactions, his boundaries were selfish. By the time he was an adult, he automatically questioned himself whenever someone challenged him, especially his mother. Lucy points out that this is textbook emotional abuse and gaslighting, that Linda systematically destroyed Nathan's ability to trust himself, so he'd always defer to her judgment. Nathan starts crying during the session and admits he feels like he failed me by not protecting me from his mother sooner. I reach over and hold his hand while Lucy guides us through processing these feelings together. Over the next few weeks, Lucy helps Nathan write a letter to his mother, setting clear boundaries for any future relationship. The letter states that he's willing to have supervised contact with her after she completes 6 months of therapy with a licensed professional. It says she needs to provide proof of ongoing treatment and write me a genuine apology that takes responsibility for her actions without blaming anyone else. Nathan reads me multiple drafts, and we work on the wording together until it feels right. He mails the letter to Linda's house with delivery confirmation so we know she received it. Linda's response arrives 10 days later, and it's 3 pages of nasty accusations. She blames me for turning Nathan against her and poisoning his mind with lies about her relationship with Juliana. She writes that she'll never apologize for loving Juliana like the daughter she always wanted, and that I should be grateful she's willing to tolerate me as Nathan's wife. The letter says Nathan is betraying his family by choosing me over his own mother, and she hopes he realizes his mistake before it's too late. Nathan reads the entire thing out loud to me, then sighs deeply and puts it in a folder with all the other documentation we've been keeping. He labels the folder clearly in case we ever need to file for a restraining order against her. At my 20-week checkup, the obstetrician checks my blood pressure multiple times and smiles when she tells me it's back in the normal range. She says the baby is healthy and developing right on schedule despite everything I went through in the first half of pregnancy. She clears me to come off bed rest and return to normal activities, though she warns me to still avoid excessive stress and take breaks when I need them. I cry happy tears in the exam room because I was so scared the stress had permanently damaged something. Nathan's dad starts coming over for Sunday dinners after I'm off bed rest. The first dinner is awkward because we're all figuring out how to relate to each other without Linda there. He brings a stuffed elephant for the baby and apologizes again for not standing up to Linda sooner. Over the following weeks, we slowly build a real relationship with him separate from Linda's influence. He tells us stories about Nathan's childhood that focus on happy memories and funny moments instead of Linda's manipulation. I see where Nathan got his kindness and his quiet strength, the parts of him that aren't damaged by his mother's abuse. Nathan's dad brings baby gifts every week and asks thoughtful questions about our plans for parenting. At 6 months pregnant, we plan a small gender reveal party, with just the people who supported us through everything. Violet and Griffin come over early to help set up decorations in our backyard. Coraline flies in for the weekend and brings a huge gift basket of baby supplies. Nathan's dad arrives with Mitch, and they both look excited to finally know if it's a boy or girl. We decided to do the powder cannon reveal because it seemed fun and simple. Nathan and I stand together in the middle of the yard while everyone counts down. We pull the string at the same time, and pink powder explodes into the air around us. Nathan starts crying immediately, happy tears streaming down his face while he hugs me tight. His dad walks over and hugs Nathan while telling him he's going to be an amazing father to his little girl. Mitch claps Nathan on the back and jokes about how Nathan will need to learn to do hair and tea parties. Violet hugs me and whispers that this baby girl is going to be so loved and protected. We spend the rest of the afternoon celebrating with the people who actually matter, the ones who chose to support our family instead of Linda's dysfunction. I watch Nathan laughing with his dad and brother, talking about his daughter with pure joy on his face, and I feel grateful that we survived Linda's attempts to destroy us. The week after the gender reveal, Nathan makes an appointment with Samuel to update all our legal documents. We sit in Samuel's office while he walks us through emergency contact forms and medical directive paperwork. Nathan removes Linda's name from every single document and adds Violet and his dad instead. Samuel pulls up the will Nathan made years ago when he first started his career, and we go through it line by line. There's a section about guardianship if something happens to both of us, and Linda's name is listed as primary guardian. Nathan physically flinches when he sees it written there. Samuel types up new language that specifically excludes Linda from any custody or guardianship rights. He makes it ironclad with legal terms I don't fully understand, but trust completely. Nathan signs everything without hesitation, and I watch him systematically erase his mother from our legal life. When we leave Samuel's office, Nathan puts his hand on my belly and promises our daughter that she'll always be protected from Linda's manipulation. That weekend, we start setting up the nursery in the spare bedroom. Nathan moves all the storage boxes to the garage and paints the walls a soft yellow color we picked together. He assembles the crib following the instructions carefully, doesn't get frustrated when parts don't fit right away. I organize baby clothes by size while he puts together the changing table and dresser. He hangs curtains and installs the baby monitor, testing it multiple times to make sure it works perfectly. Every evening after work, Nathan comes home and heads straight to the nursery to work on something. He reads pregnancy books during his lunch breaks and highlights sections about newborn care. He signs us up for parenting classes at the hospital and shows up to every single session, takes detailed notes, asks thoughtful questions. At night, he talks to my belly, tells our daughter about his day, reads her children's books in different funny voices that make me laugh. He's present in a way he never was before, fully engaged instead of just going through the motions. I watch him become the father our daughter needs, and the partner I always hoped he could be. 3 weeks later, I'm folding laundry in the living room when the doorbell rings. Nathan's closer to the door, so he answers it while I continue sorting tiny baby socks. I hear Linda's voice on the front porch saying she just wants to talk, that this has gone on long enough. Nathan's response is calm and firm. He tells her she's trespassing on our property, and she needs to leave immediately. Linda starts crying, saying she's his mother, and she deserves to be heard. Nathan repeats that she's trespassing and closes the door in her face. I walk to the window and peek through the curtains. Linda stands on our porch sobbing, her hands pressed against the door like she's trying to push her way inside. She stays there for exactly 20 minutes while Nathan and I sit on the couch in silence. Finally, she walks back to her car, gets in, and drives away. Nathan immediately calls Samuel and describes what happened. Samuel says this is the pattern of harassment we need to file for a restraining order. The next morning, we go to the courthouse and fill out the paperwork. We bring copies of all Linda's texts, the threatening letter, documentation of her showing up unannounced. The judge reviews everything and grants a temporary restraining order that same day. Linda is legally required to stay at least 500 feet away from us and our home. When we get home with the signed order, I feel like I can breathe properly for the first time in months. The legal protection gives me peace of mind that Linda can't just show up whenever she wants. 2 weeks after the restraining order is served, Nathan's dad calls and asks if he can come over to talk. He arrives looking tired and sits at our kitchen table with coffee. Neither of us made strong enough. He tells us Linda did start therapy after she was served with the restraining order. Her therapist is trying to help her understand boundaries and take responsibility for her actions. But according to Nathan's dad, Linda spends most of her therapy sessions blaming everyone else for her problems. She blames me for turning Nathan against her. She blames Nathan for choosing his wife over his mother. She blames Nathan's dad for not supporting her relationship with Juliana. She refuses to acknowledge that her own choices led to this situation. Nathan's dad says he's done waiting for Linda to change. He filed for divorce last week and moved his belongings out of their house into his apartment. He can't live with someone who refuses to take responsibility for the damage they caused to their own family. 30 weeks pregnant, I'm sitting in the nursery folding more baby clothes when something shifts inside me. I realize I've forgiven Nathan for his role in this whole mess. He's proven through consistent action over months that he's chosen me and our daughter. He's become the partner I needed him to be all along. He set boundaries with his mother and maintained them even when it was hard. He protected me when I was vulnerable and put our family first. I'm not saying the past didn't hurt or that I've forgotten how long it took him to stand up to Linda, but I can see how hard he's worked to change, to be better, to build the life we both want. That night, I tell Nathan I've forgiven him, and he cries while holding me. A few days later, we're discussing baby names, and Nathan suggests several names from his family. His grandmother's name, his aunt's name, traditional names that have meaning on his side. I listen to all his suggestions, and then I tell him I want to name our daughter after my grandmother instead. Her name was Rose, and she was the kindest, strongest woman I ever knew. Nathan is quiet for a minute, and then he smiles and says, "Rose is perfect." It's a small thing, but it feels important. Starting our own family traditions separate from Linda's influence and expectations. We're declaring our independence from the dysfunction that defined Nathan's childhood. Our daughter will have a name that represents love and strength, not obligation and manipulation. Mitch calls a week later and offers to throw us a baby shower. He says he wants to do something special for us after everything we've been through. He carefully vets the guest list with us, making sure every single person invited supported us through the crisis with Linda. The shower ends up being smaller than we originally planned, but it's filled with people who genuinely love us and respect our boundaries. Violet and Griffin come early to help set up. Coraline flies in again. Nathan's dad brings thoughtful gifts and tells stories about Nathan as a baby. Mitch decorates with pink balloons and makes a ridiculous diaper cake that's taller than me. Everyone there knows what we survived, and they celebrate with us not just the baby, but the family we're building based on honesty and healthy boundaries. At 34 weeks, Nathan's dad asks if he can be in the delivery room when our daughter is born. Nathan and I discuss it privately for a long time. We agree he can be in the waiting room, but only Nathan will be with me during delivery. We're building trust with Nathan's dad slowly, but I need to protect my most vulnerable moments carefully. He understands completely and says he's grateful to be included at all. 4 weeks later, at exactly 38 weeks pregnant, my water breaks at 2 in the morning. Nathan is everything I need during labor. He's calm when I'm panicking, supportive when I'm exhausted, completely focused on me through every contraction. He holds my hand and breathes with me and tells me I'm strong when I don't feel strong at all. After 14 hours of labor, our daughter is born healthy at 7 pounds 2 ounces. The nurse places her on my chest and she's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Nathan is sobbing while he holds her for the first time, his hands shaking as he touches her tiny fingers. He looks at me with pure joy on his face and thanks me for giving him this gift, this chance to be the father he always wanted to be. Nathan's dad comes into the hospital room an hour later, and he's carrying a small pink teddy bear. He asks permission before approaching my bed, and I nod, because he's been nothing but respectful through everything. He looks at our daughter sleeping in Nathan's arms, and his eyes fill with tears. Nathan carefully passes her to him, and his dad holds her like she's made of glass. He touches her tiny hand and whispers that he's going to protect her from the kind of manipulation he failed to protect Nathan from. He promises her she'll grow up knowing what healthy family looks like, and I believe him because his actions have matched his words for months now. He stays for 20 minutes, then leaves so we can rest, and I feel hopeful about having him in our daughter's life. 3 months pass, and our daughter is doing great. She's sleeping better, growing fast, and Nathan is the kind of dad I always hoped he'd be. Our marriage feels stronger than it ever was before all the chaos started. Mitch calls every few weeks to check in, and he mentions that Linda is still going to therapy, but she hasn't really changed much. She still talks about Juliana sometimes and blames me for everything that happened. We're okay with that because we've built our own family now. One based on honesty and respect instead of manipulation and guilt. Nathan tells me one night while we're watching our daughter sleep that he's grateful this whole crisis happened before she was born. He says now she'll grow up in a home where manipulation isn't tolerated and boundaries actually mean something, and I realize he's completely right. We took something horrible and used it to become better parents and better partners to each other.